Good morning, good day, everybody. Thank you for joining us today on this autumn day in Michigan. Here we are going to be talking about e-commerce and the strategies to grow your exports and your businesses internationally. I'm super excited to be joined by Hannah Zeneca from the MSU Global Business Club. She's the assistant director there for the international trade programs and therefore is someone you should know. So mark down that email address. This is someone who can connect you with a lot of different ways of grant funding, of research, of ways of increasing your business. And she knows if she doesn't know the answer herself, she knows who to connect you with. So that's the email to check out for Hannah. Hannah's going to be talking to us briefly a little bit about that later on. I'll introduce myself as well. My name is Susanna, and I'm Chief Content Officer at IBT Online. IBT Online is it's a private company, it's a U.S. company, and we are what's called a digital marketing agent. So we, as an agency, we create websites and we do online marketing for our clients. And we're known for two strong things. We're known for one, focusing on the mid-cap world, the small and mid-cap companies who don't always have all the resources in the house. And two, we're known for international. So we're known for helping Michigan companies reach the Japanese audience, sell their products into Germany, get more brand recognition in Quebec. Whatever it is, wherever it is, that's what we're known for. And we've done this through a series of programs that we've developed called the Online Global Programs. And these are programs which are a well-trodden path. We've done this for quite a few years now in Michigan, for Michigan companies and other states as well. And they really are designed for helping those mid-cap companies, get onto that international ladder and boost their sales internationally. We are also very, very pleased to announce that we have signed a strategic partnership agreement with U.S. Commercial Service. So we are the U.S. Commercial Service partner, strategic partner for e-commerce, which brings me to today's program about e-commerce to grow your business globally. So that's why Hannah and I were talking about this, and we're saying, let's see if we can help some Michigan companies and help Michigan entrepreneurs looking to grow their business internationally as well. So we thought of a little agenda for you today, and we sort of split it up into sort of sort of some six sort of buckets that we could push in. So first, I'm going to ask Hannah to talk a little bit about this Global Business Club of Michigan and what that is and what resources there are and how to connect with that. And then I'm going to take it back and talk a little bit about sales and where we're from a digital point of view, where we are seeing sales right now and coming down the track, as it were. What those e-commerce must-haves are, what the strategies are for marketing, what your choices are. So we're going to be asking lots of questions, opening lots of boxes, hopefully giving you some useful practical information as well. The last part of it, some easy takeaways as well, and some time for Q&A. We do recognize that you're all busy. We do recognize that you've got a busy, busy day. You're running your own companies, whatever. We are very grateful that you've taken an hour out of your day to spend it with us. So what I would ask you to do is just put away the phone, put away the second screen and the emails. You will get a recording of this in your inbox tomorrow, so you can just sit back with a cup of tea, listen to us, understand, ask questions. Now is the right time to ask the questions you never had time to ask before. So about e-commerce. So go ahead, anything online, anything digital you've been puzzling about, now's a great time to ask the questions. Just pop them into the chat box. We'll get them at the end of the webinar. With that, I think I'm going to pass over to Hannah, talk a little bit about the Global Business Club of Michigan.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. So yeah, just kind of wanted to share a bit about our center, highlight some of our resources. So the MSU International Business Center has been designated since 1990 as a National Resource Center by the U.S. Department of Education. So we're actually one of 15 official CIBERS, Center for International Business Education and Research, throughout the country. And we each have different focuses and different programs that we have to kind of help spread international business education. So our main mission is to provide education, research, and assistance to businesses, public policymakers, academics, and students on topics related to international business and trade. Next slide, please. And then just to highlight, so one of the main programs that we have to do that is something called the Global Business Club of Michigan. So the Global Business Club, I think, has been around for about 20 years or so, but it's taken some different forms. And currently, our main program offerings are split between two categories. So each year, we're holding 4 in-person events around the state of Michigan, known as the Market Spotlight Series. So each of these events features a different region of the world or a different market. So for example, we've held events focused on doing business in Canada, Turkey, Brazil, West Africa, Vietnam. Our next event will be focused on South Korea, held in the Detroit area. More information to come. And then separately, we also hold a series of educational webinars, such as the event that you're in right now. I also just want to quickly highlight one more program and resource that we have, which is called MEGP, the Michigan Export Growth Program. So this is through a grant that we have with MEDC, so the state of Michigan, where we can essentially do pro bono market research for 20 different companies in Michigan each year. So if you're interested in that, for example, if let's say you're looking at exporting and you're not sure which market to go to, we can pull together a report, analyzing and comparing different countries together to see what might be a good fit for your business. So if you're interested in that, reach out to me as well. Thank you. And with that, passing back to Susanna.
There we go. Hannah, thank you very much. Like I said, I don't know if my camera's working properly. Hopefully it'll come back. Like I said, Hannah is the person to know. Absolutely. Get to know her. She is the person to know and the person to contact if you're looking at exporting and market research. Now, from our side, we thought we'd start off with really talking about the sort of the future of sales. What does that mean for you? And I'm sorry if my camera isn't working. I can't see if it is or not. Anyway, let's start off here. I thought I'd give you some stats just to start off. Some lovely statistics. We are 8 billion people on the planet, folks. 8 billion of us, and nearly 5.5 billion, 5.4, let's call it, use the internet. 66% use the internet of people online. That's a staggering statistic for me. And in social media, nearly all of those people online use social media, so 5 billion of them. I find that stunning. And the average time spent, 6 hours and 40 minutes. This means that most people on Earth, 66% of us, over 5 billion of us, spend 7 hours a day on the internet. Now, if you are a small mid-cap company, this is good news for you. You know where your clients are. You know where your future clients are. They're online. You know how to connect with them via social media. So this, I think, is a very empowering thing. And when we talk about online and things, in the U.S., for example, if we're looking at social media and things like that, when we look at that, we think we're right up there. Nowhere near. This chart here shows lots of different countries. And yes, you do get a copy of this recording by the way. You don't have to write down the numbers. The big blue arrow is the USA. The white band is worldwide average. So we are far, far from the worldwide average, let alone countries like India, South Africa, UAE, Brazil, Colombia, Saudi Arabia. They do this much more. They're much more online engaged than the U.S. is. E-commerce, very similar, actually. Now, the pandemic had a real upstep effect on e-commerce overall. So we talked about those sort of 5 billion people using the internet. 4 out of 5 billion are using e-commerce are here. And there was this big sort of step up with the pandemic, and that has not decreased. It's continued to grow. Again, if we're looking at the worldwide averages, the US, yes, we shop online all the time, but we're not even at the worldwide average. Again, on this one, the blue arrow indicates the USA, the big white band is worldwide average. So if you're like me and you're shopping all the time, whoa, you say, okay, no, but people in Poland shop online much more than people in the USA. Malaysia, look at Thailand. They're shopping all the time. These people just shop online way more, 50% more, 30% more than USA. There's the USA represents 12% of B2C worldwide e-commerce. That's all. So if you're looking at that, you say, well, in that case, the global markets could be very interesting for me. A lot more cross-border e-commerce to come. That's B2C. Now, if we look at B2B e-commerce, something amazing. B2B commerce is actually way larger than B2C e-commerce. B2B is 3 times the size of B2C e-commerce. And again, because of the pandemic, but even before the pandemic, companies were increasingly going towards B2B e-commerce just at some level. And we'll talk about that later, because you're like, well, I'm a B2B company, but we're not using e-commerce. We're going to talk about that later, about what that means. And is it full e-commerce or not? A lot of companies are looking at this and saying, okay, I can do e-commerce, but I can't do that payment stuff at the end. That's still e-commerce. And we'll talk about what that means. So just as a general point, some of the things that we're seeing coming down the track as a digital agency, some of the big, fundamental trends that we're seeing. AI, clearly on everybody's agenda at the moment. Clearly, everybody is looking at that and talking about that, and we're seeing that more and more. AI is something that is absolutely entwined with the online world. I mean, if you think of when you're next on Amazon, you buy a coffee mug, and suddenly Amazon's saying, hey, how about these other coffee mugs or coffee pots that go with the mug? Well, that's an AI enablement. How do you think Google does search enablement? How does it do search optimization? That's that type of AI. Generative AI, which we're now talking about. Now that's amazing for anyone who's working on the online world, anyone who's working on online marketing, for example. Generative AI is absolutely transformative. The other big trend we're seeing is e-commerce, as I pointed out, and how that's pursued throughout the pandemic. That gave it sort of a big boost, but it was there growing before, and it's still growing now. And for most companies, it is now being absolutely demanded by their clients. Their clients say, I do not want to be telephoned. Do not call me. I want to go on your website and choose what I want first. And when I've decided that, then you can give me a call, or I'll call you. Another thing is personalization and community. While we're all doing this sort of endless online stuff, we still want to feel very personal. We still want to have a very personal link. And I want my experience to be what I want it to be. I don't want a cookie cutter. I want my version of it. And again, that's something that if you're in business, you have to accommodate. That goes hand in hand with social commerce. Social commerce is when you're buying things from like Instagram. You see something on Instagram and go, oh, I like that. You can go directly onto that store. We'll talk about that later. And the last thing I want to talk about is data privacy and compliance. These are like what most people hear and they yawn. But do not yawn. Do not take this seriously. Please do watch out for this. This is a wave coming at you. Do not ignore it. It is more and more essential, not just by law by many countries, but also just for that buyer's experience. Let me give you one example of that. It takes a lot of trust to buy something or to engage with a website. For that buyer's journey to have the trust that you need to build that trust over time. And if the website is not secure, and not compliant, then I don't trust the brand. So I do not like your brand if you are not trustworthy and compliant. So think of it that way, if nothing else. So if I'm looking at the future of sales from our point of view, from a digital agency point of view, we're saying that it's digital first, so that it is not anymore a Rolodex and cold calling. That's out. That's gone. That is bad brand management. What's happening now is that it's digital first. Your prospective client searches online for what they want. And they search on the channels that they want, not the channels you are on necessarily. They want their channels. So you have to adapt to them. And it's all about the customer. It's me, me, me. It's I want to apply on my channels and the time I want, with the words I want, and the way I want. And you have to adapt to me. So that's why we're saying it's a digital first, it's omni-channel and customer centric. So let's talk about doing business online and doing business internationally. We wanted to ask you guys, are you already doing business internationally? Are you out there already? All you have to do, by the way, is take your mouse and click on these things. And then, oh, thank you, coming through. Good clicking there. So if you're thinking about it, let us know. If you're already online with a local partner, or are you already online or already just with a local partner? Most companies first go with a local in-market partner. That can be a distributor, an agent, or whatever. Being online and a local partner is great news. Thank you for that. We will get back to you on that, and thank you. We'll have some more posts later on. Let's talk now about some e-commerce must-haves. So we tried to group together. I mean, this was just a massive long list of e-commerce must-haves. We tried to sort of condense it into the things that we think are the most important. And I guess what we wanted to say was, okay, e-commerce must-have. I've got a Michigan website. I spent money making my Michigan website. Why can't I use my Michigan website for my Japanese customers, for my German prospective buyers, for my Canadian distributors? Why not? It's because search engines are what's called localized. They take the searcher's point of view. So they say, hey, Hannah, sitting in Detroit or in Lansing, that's Hannah. What's relevant to her sitting there in her language with her history? So maybe your website is not relevant or not perceived as relevant to your prospective buyer who's sitting in Montreal or who's sitting in Mexico City or who's sitting, sometimes even sitting in California. I'm going to give you a very silly example of this. My colleague Celia has a dog called Pepper. Pepper particularly likes to bark during webinars. And so if Celia goes on to google.com and she goes, squeakless dog toys. This is what I need for my dog during webinars. Get my dog not barking during my webinars. She goes on to google.com and she gets these kind of results. Colin Hughes, Amazon.com, Glad Dogs, and so on. Quiet Zone, no squeak dog toys. That's what I need. Now, if Celia was sitting in London, UK, and she would go on to Google, so same search engine, same language, same words, different results. Okay, she's going to get Amazon.co.uk, not Amazon.com. She's going to get No Squeak Toys, Bustle.com, etc. Different results. It's because Google knows where you are. Your search engine knows what your history is. It knows what language you are. So if you're in the squeakless dog toy business and you're trying to sell to the UK, you need to convince that search engine that you are relevant to that market. Okay. And search engines are not just Google. Amazon is a search engine. YouTube is a search engine. Okay. So any big platform that you're using is doing a similar algorithmic triage as Google. There you go. That was my city example. So In a sense, what we're asking you to do when you look at your websites is to respect your local buyer persona, the local buyer persona, right? And that means lots of different things. Language is one of 10 criteria that I've listed here. Language. There's lots of other criteria. There's 9 other criteria which are, big, which are just as important. Language is like the frosting on the cake. That's the easy part. But there's a whole lot of other things that go into making a website relevant for the local buyer persona. Hosting, for example. What CMS you're using. The domain name. All those things are important. And for e-commerce, even more so. E-commerce, that relevance to the local buyer persona becomes even more so. It adds that extra layer. How are they pricing things? How are they paying for things? Do they have credit cards or are they having another system? Do they use, what shipping facilities are they used to? What are their compliance and regulations? What is their compliance and regulations for, like, sending things back for deliveries, for all those things you have to know in advance. It's about respecting that local buyer journey. As I said earlier, it takes a lot of trust in the buyer's journey in order to buy things. So here I've put some questions up about that you might want to ask yourself. If you've got an e-commerce website in Michigan and you say, I really think that this could go well into Canada, into Quebec, into Mexico, into wherever it is, UAE. Here are some questions. In what way is my buyer persona there different from here? How do they find me? How do they interact with me? In what way is their journey different? And I'll give you a little example here. The screenshot I've taken here is from L'Oreal USA. L'Oreal, they make the shampoo stuff. And L'Oreal spent a lot of time figuring out buyer personas, as any good digital marketing agency does. And this one, they think, resonates with their US buyer persona. Women, great hair, they're all on the top floor of a building, they're all engaged. They've got a computer or something, or they're engaged with each other. They're all doing things like that. Very urban scene. If I were to look the next, like in Mexico, for example, L'Oreal Mexico looks different. Again, it's very urban. They're on the top floor. There's flowers there. Great hair. They're collegiate. They're sitting all around one computer. It's less distance. That looks more Mexican to a Mexican audience. There's 2 guys in the picture. Okay? It's a different image that they've chosen. The Mexican rep has said, no, that's the one that speaks to me here in Mexico. If I look in Canada, it's a bit different again. L'Oreal have just said, no, Canada's kind of edgy. Canada's more mosaic. This is more Canada. So that, in that sense, you can see that the digital agency has thought about the buyer persona in those different markets. And that's even reflected in the imagery they've used. So that is a way of trying to resonate very quickly with your buyer persona. Another way, clearly, is your keyword. Your keywords, and anyone knowing marketing knows what keywords are. They're the words that you type in. Your searcher types in keyword phrases like, what are the best runners? What are the best sneakers I can find? And if you're in the athletic business, you're trying to sell in Canada, you should know that most Canadians use the word runners, not sneakers. If you're using sneakers in Canada, you're only hitting about 1/4 of the audience. 3/4 of the audience of searches are using the word runners. So that is an important thing if you're looking at that. So those keywords become very important, especially if you're doing things like Google Ads. Google Ads means you're paying money to Google. If you're doing Google Ads and you've got the wrong words, you're just paying Google money for nothing. And they have a lot of money already. They don't need more. So, that's keywords are another essential item in your and your localization in your strategy. I want to highlight as well mobile enablement. Most, many markets, especially export markets that you find, will be what are called mobile first markets. If you go to Malaysia, to the UAE, to Mexico, these are markets that discover the internet first on their mobile phone. So they're mobile first markets. They're going to do business on their mobile phones. They're going to find you on their mobile phones, and they're going to check out your website on their mobile phones. So please make sure that your website looks fantastic on a mobile phone. It's absolutely essential for the international audience. We talked a little bit about compliance earlier. And compliance, I just want to highlight it one more time. It is an absolute tidal wave coming your way. Like it or not, you're not going to be able to fight against it. Even within the US, it's happening. And Canada has its own C-SPAN. California now has its own. Colombia is installing something very similar to GDPR. Japan is rolling out a very similar GDPR. So a lot of countries are doing this. I've highlighted GDPR, which is the EU set of rules, because it's sort of, in a sense, the high bar. If you're GDPR compliant, you're fine for the others. So if you're like, well, how do I be compliant with all these different rules coming at me? Just do the GDPR and you'll be fine. Okay, that ticks everybody else's boxes as well, right? But please don't ignore it. I'll give you one example. If your website is not compliant, and in particular is not secure, in other words, does not have an SSL certificate for encryption, if anyone from Europe seeing your website has a large yellow triangle saying danger on it, that's not something you want next to your brand, is it? Hello, go onto my website, it says danger. No, not a good idea, not a good look. Okay, we talked a little bit about URLs as one of the aspects, one of the criteria one can use for this. This horrible looking slide, all in orange, and with lots of little things on it, is just to try and show you how complex it can be and how important it is to choose the right URL, the right structure of subdomain that you want to have. And after that, you do things. These are the more the technical part. They're called hreflangs and things, but it'll show you the different things that you want to have on that. Yourbrand.de gets everybody in Germany. Yourbrand.com/de. No, so there's lots of different ways of doing it, and anyone who's looking to start with international websites or e-commerce sites, one of the first things we do with them is to say, what is your target market here? For example, we build Spanish language websites for US companies in the US. There's something like nearly 40 million first language Spanish speakers in the USA. That is a distinct market. And some US companies say, well, I just want to target my Spanish speaking audience. That's something you can do with a URL. Anyway, so there you go. So lots to happen in URLs. And the last thing I wanted to just highlight in terms of what I call these e-commerce must-haves is the choice from the beginning of which platform you use. I know it's going to be hard if you're just starting out saying, what platform should I use? What are these platforms anyway? It's really worth the trouble to take a deep dive into this and figure out what you need to have as a platform. Because if you start on the journey and then 2 years later you say, you know what, I'm really frustrated with this, I need the other one, it's really, really hard not to lose business when you transfer. Okay, so yes, companies like us, we can transfer you from Shopify to WooCommerce. Yes, but making sure that you maintain domain authority by doing that is not easy and it's expensive. So take the time necessary to really understand what your longer term objectives are and the likely scenarios. What is your growth pattern? What is your tech stack at home? What are your abilities in-house? What can you afford to subcontract? All those big questions. And that will help you define which platform you take. Just to give you an example, if you are a two-man band and in 3 years' time you hope to be a three-person band, and you're all running around doing a lot of different things, selling, making, marketing, everything. Shopify is pretty good. When you start growing a lot more than that and really going into a lot of different markets, Shopify can be very frustrating and quickly get very expensive. So Shopify looks really cheap at the beginning. It quickly ramps up. And very quickly, if you're a fast-growing company and you say, okay, I want this, this, and this, and this, it can be very frustrating because it has a set defined limit. Okay? Especially for international markets, unless you go to Shopify Markets, which is, again, a much bigger budget. Thousands of dollars you pay to Shopify per month. WooCommerce, much more flexible, much more easy, and you're much more in control. But it demands a different tech stack or an ability to outsource to companies like us. Okay, so do take the time it takes and ask the right questions or ask people who would know which ones you should take from the beginning. Would you like to learn more about international e-commerce and the websites that go with it? We are happy to send you some links or some blogs or point you in the direction of where you could access more information about e-commerce and international websites and that whole localization process that I talked about earlier. Thank you very much for that, and we'll close that poll. And let's talk about some examples now. E-commerce examples. I wanted to give you a couple of examples of our clients there who fall into different categories. So just to give you some examples of some of the things that some of our clients have done. The first example is really what I would call building brand awareness with e-commerce. This is a company, they're a Kentucky-based company, they've been around a long time, and they invented something called the grill topper, which is fantastic. And anybody doing barbecuing needs to know this company. They're called Oscarware. Lovely, lovely people. They make everything in the US. They've been around for a long time, and they sell via Walmart, Asda, Amazon, all those places. And they did find that over time, because they're in those places, the notion of their brand was eroding. That they somehow, selling things in Walmart was great for Walmart. Good for them because they sold a product, but nobody knew. They just knew I bought this grill topper in Walmart. I don't know what the grill topper's name is. I don't know Oscarware as a company. And they somehow wanted to reverse that and somehow wanted to value that brand better and make sure that they had a stronger handle on that brand. And therefore asked us to do a complete global redesign of their product, a strong brand imagery, a strong brand website, and make it e-commerce functional. Not that they're going to sell more products on their website than they are at Walmart, but they might one day. When they're on track for it. So hey, success. But the point is, a very strong brand. This is, and they're, when you talk to them as a company, they say, we are about, okay, you can buy a grill topper, but we are about family outdoor experiences. We're about group together eating. We're about good cooking experiences outdoors, which are all about the grilling and so on. And whether it's, you can grill anything as well. So that was the whole point about that. And this strong e-commerce enabled. And that was about building brand awareness via your website with a very strong branded website and online marketing that goes with the e-commerce enablement. The next company I want to talk about is a Virginia company. They are world leaders in clay courts for tennis courts, and clay courts, and also lots of tennis equipment. And they sell a lot in Europe. And what they wanted to do is make sure their brand is already very well known in the tennis industry, Hartro. And so that wasn't the point, but they have great distributors in house, and the distributors are fantastic at logistics, after sales, installation, um, putting down the courts, maintaining the courts, things like that. They're not always that good at the actual marketing. They're not always that good about making sure that Hartrue looks great, that the brand guidelines are followed, that the fonts are the same, the colors are the same, and so on. And so they said, we do all the marketing. And this is something that you need to think about from the very beginning. In e-commerce, e-commerce requires marketing. You cannot open an e-commerce store and expect people to find you unless you shout out into the online world. Unless you're on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, WhatsApp, whatever it is, you need to be out there showcasing your wares. B2B or B2C, you need to be out there, visible to the outside world. And giving that visibility, that brand management to a distributor is a dangerous thing. Is your distributor competent to be managing that brand? Do they know what they're doing? Are they the ones who should be following your brand guidelines in terms of color and font and this, that, and the other? No. And even if they convince you that they are, do you want to give that very, very valuable online real estate to someone else outside your company? That is valuable real estate that you should have in-house. You need to keep those domain names and your competence in-house for your brand. Your brand is your single most important asset that you have as a company. Don't give that to a distributor. Give a distributor what the distributor does. Logistics, installation, after sales, taxes, whatever it is. Not marketing, not brand management. So Hartrue is an example. Here you have, I think it's their German, their UK, and their French websites that we do for them. We manage all their marketing for them, but they keep control of it. These are the brand guidelines. We have to do that for them because they don't have the in-house capabilities of it, but we help them act as their in-house team. Their distributors do the installation of it. And all of that is e-commerce enabled as well. The next example I want to give you is actually a Michigan company. And they make a product. It's a lovely product. If you click one more time, there you go. They make a lovely product. It's hard to see it though, isn't it? Because it all looks the same. They make, basically, it's a certain type of wrapping things which wrap metal pieces so that they don't rust. So if you're transporting metal from Lansing to Detroit or from Detroit to wherever, then you wrap it in these VCIs and then they. So the point about that is making it really easy to do business with. Their website, you have a whole lot of filtering areas. You want exactly that size. Yep, it's easy to find. You're not sure? Ask Jerry. So there's a lot of very easy functionality on the website, making it very easy to go through, easy to look at. And I think in total we've built, 6 websites for them across different markets. And they're all paid differently and so on. So that's, making it really easy for their B2B buyers to find the exact product, exact quantity, and so on that they need. And there's always these chat bots that go up and down, which are, in today's world, because of AI, they can be really impressive. This is what's called Ask Jerry thing at the bottom of the thing, that help the client actually find the product or the SKU that they're looking for. Another example is when you have, again, this is a company based in Wisconsin, and they make synthetic motor oil called AMSOIL. And a wonderful company. They have a master distributor in Mexico who then distributes out to sub-distributors. And again, AMSOIL say, Distributor, your job is to actually, have the product to hand, deal with customs, deal with tariffs, deal with logistics, all that stuff, have it in hand. Our job, AMSOIL, via us IBT, is to do the marketing for that. For that e-commerce. And again, you can buy all these products online and through their distributors. But it's really supporting that distributor network. So the distributors want to work with a company like this. Distributors are lining up to say, please, we work with you because we know you do a great job of marketing your product for us, so that we're going to get sales because you're doing a great job in marketing. Okay. The last example I want to give you, another point about the distributor thing. If you have next slide. If you have multiple distributors, one of the best things about that is that you're able to then manage those distributors using online tools. Again, this is for, you can manage exactly who's managing them, where, how are they, which distributors doing what. All the distributors, because you've given everything on your website, all the distributors have the same assets at the same time. So no distributor can come back to you and say, well, I don't have the right tools. No, but you've got the same tools as everybody else, and they're doing way better than you. What's wrong? What's going on? So it's a way of managing distributors through your online tools, which is really good, and also supporting them. You can add all your product documentation in a separate login area. All the the manuals, the specs, the text, all of that can be loaded up onto an area on your website, on your e-commerce enabled website, that has a login area for the text sheets and so another really good way of using your web assets to support your sales. The last example I wanted to give you was a company, which is something, it's very much a B2B thing they're seeing. It's really about building a cart. And this is, I mentioned it earlier with regards to e-commerce. This is something we're seeing really, really rolling out with a lot of enthusiasm for B2B companies. So B2B companies are finding increasingly that their clients want the ability to go onto a website and pick and choose. Build a cart. I've got a cart and I want 3 of these and 2 of those, 6 of these and 10 of those. Put them all together and send, okay, quote me, how much is that going to be? And this is a fantastic tool for a company. They are essentially getting a sales qualified lead. They're essentially getting a market qualified, sales qualified lead out of their website. This, a customer sends in a quote, like, request a quote for having, a salesman can then pick up the phone. Say, hey, thanks so much for that email. Those products don't in fact go together. So can we suggest this? But the client already has an interest in this. The client has found you, has found the things that he wants on your website. He's evaluated you, he's considered you, he's looked at them, he's now considering the purchase of it. And he's done that via your e-commerce enabled website, B2B website. And that allows you then to contact him, which is a whole lot more comfortable than cold calling. That's for sure, because nobody wants to be cold called. Nobody wants to do cold calling. But this allows you instead to have that interaction before, which is so essential. So this is definitely something we're seeing a lot of our B2B clients pulling out. It is essentially it is an e-commerce enabled website. It doesn't have a payment gateway at the end. There isn't put in your credit card here. It ends with request a quote. So you don't have a payment gateway. You don't have a delivery network, a delivery plugin at the end. All you have is, okay, I've chosen those things, I've built my cart, I've sent it to you. How much that? When's it going to be here? Have I got the right spec? So it's a really, really good thing for B2B companies to have in today's world. Right, let's move on to marketing. And some, like I said, goes together hand in glove, e-commerce and marketing. You can't do e-commerce without online marketing. Everything you can't open a store and then pretend that and then hide it. The first example I want to give you is a company that we work for called Bloom Maker. And again, kind of similar to Oscarware, they sell everywhere. They're on Amazon, on Walmart, and they sell on Facebook, on Instagram, on Google Ads, on Pinterest, on TikTok. They're just everywhere. And they're a small company. So how do they do that? Well, they do it by hiring people like us, of course, yes, but more to the point, how they do that really is a way of really understanding their buyer persona and reusing and repurposing content. And that's, I think, one of the keys to successful, or the two keys really to successful online marketing. Getting back to that notion of your buyer persona. So when is that buyer persona? How is it? Who is it? At what point do they buy? When do they buy? How do they buy? All those things. And then also saying, okay, now I'm a small company. I can't create endless amounts of content for that. How do I take something and reuse it? So I can get one video, if I look, for example, at their videos, and Bluemaker may do a lot of video marketing. I look at their videos and things. They look, fantastic and things. They are made very often just with an iPhone. And with people like us, we can optimize them. We can get them to better, repurpose them, use them in different ways. So we could put that same video on an Instagram. We can take a clip of it. We can take a reel of it. We can take still images. We can reuse, repurpose, and put in different ways. So that, in fact, creating one video, you've suddenly created 10 different digital assets that you can use. And that is the only way to survive if you are a small mid-cap company. Otherwise, you will just be drowned on it. And I think the point about that whole the point really I wanted to make also with the video marketing for Bluemaker is the return on investment and how important that is. Any marketing has to start out with return on investment and a notion of how you get that return on investment. How is it? Am I monitoring it? The thing I love about digital assets and the online world anyway for companies is that it's all about the top line. It's all about your top line sales. Your website, your online marketing, your e-commerce, it's all about generating brand awareness in order to generate sales and leads. Right? So right from the start, you have to have a good notion of return on investment. What kind of investment do you have? What kind of returns do you need? And e-commerce is fantastic because it's really easy. Return on investment means money in the door, right? It's just, it's how much money am I getting from my ads? And not enough. I need to tweak them. And you can measure this again and again. Make sure that there's a very, very highly structured process in place so that there is a way of measuring the return, of testing it, of continuously adapting it, and reviewing it. And any marketing agency worth their salt will have the online tools necessary and the software necessary to analyze that every click, every eyeball on your website, on your online presence anywhere in the world. And the key to it is lather, rinse, repeat, again and again and again, and all about this endless fine tuning. It's absolutely all in the detail. Because remember that notion of buyer persona as well. Especially if you're in international markets, your buyer persona reacts in a very different way across different markets. Let's take Mexico and Canada. Okay, this is something dates from a little while ago, but it's so startling that I've kept it as a slide. Same client, same advertisement. One's in Spanish, one's in English. Same time. And okay, we changed an image or two, but virtually, they were very similar. Okay, we were really chuffed at Canada with 1,000 engagements. Look at Mexico, 20,000 engagements. Poof. We had people sending in beta pictures, for a mechanical product. Why is that? Because Mexicans love to engage, and Canadians are kind of frosty. We're kind of. I get stuff on my Instagram, and I'm kind of frosty. I don't react. Mexican audiences do. And that's fantastic. So there's a different buyer persona reaction to your marketing. If I just leave it like that, that's one engagement. This is like vanity. This is eyeball stuff. How many of the 20,000 then went to buy? Because there's two things that you want to look at, really. There's the vanity metrics, which is how many people looked at it, clicked on it, you shared it, whatever. And then how many people actually went to buy the thing? And how many leads did you generate? And this is harder to see. Basically, the blue and the red bars are the vanity. How many people shared it, liked it, sent us baby pictures? How many people, where do I buy this? Clicked on where do I buy, or the guide use and things like that. The green and the yellow bars. The green and the yellow bars are almost the same. Canada, Mexico. The vanity metrics are 20 times Mexico what they are in Canada. So again, a different buyer persona in different markets for your online marketing will react in different ways. That first slide, you would have thought, I will get 20 times the sales in Mexico than Canada. No, you will get the same amount of sales, because your buyer persona reacts differently on social media in different markets. Rounding that out, in my sort of conclusion on this, in a sense, if I look at your website, if you combine that, if you combine an e-commerce website with digital marketing, it is by far your strongest ability and tool for sales. That's clear. And from our perspective, it's also the best asset you can give your local in-market partner, your distributor or whatever. So a couple of points about your e-commerce site. It's the first port of call for any prospect. Anyone who's looking for you, looking to find you online, they'll look online. And they will check you out online. So it is the place they will check you out on. They will find you there online and they will check you out online. And it helps your brand. You can make sure that it helps your brand and develops your brand on this. For your e-commerce site, it really has to be very smooth and seamless for your buyer, and with very easy checkout. Everything's got to be absolutely snag-free and easy. Otherwise, they don't engage. But there you go. That's sort of the conclusion side of it. I wanted to give you a few minutes of Q&A. I have some easy wins, some takeaways, some next steps. But let's go straight onto that. I said earlier that your most valuable thing that the company has is your brand. And that's your brand, how your brand is perceived. It's also the best defense you have against price erosion. With that being said, it becomes essential for your online tools to be really polished, as good as they can be. You need to look after them. So why do your Michigan companies, why do you in Michigan need online business development tools? Remember that first slide I gave you in the beginning about 8 billion people and 5.5 billion of us online and all that? The world is online. Exporters need online business tools because the world is online. I think we're stuck on this slide. Hold on. There we go. There's a red line in the middle of it, but hopefully it's okay. Why do exporters? Because the world is online. So your prospects are going to find you online. Actually, your next employees, your future suppliers, everyone's going to find you online. So make sure your online assets work hard for you. A couple of digital sort of must-haves, as it were, for your online assets that we talked about. Yes, you've got a website. Please go and check it out. Is it really good? Is it mobile enabled? Properly mobile enabled? What are the load speeds like? Is it properly optimized? If not, go and shake your webmaster and say, hey, come on, get that better. Good imagery. No stock photos, please. Better you with your iPhone taking pictures than a stock photo. Easy to navigate. Easy and seamless and intuitive to navigate. Some easy wins when you're looking internationally. Remember those URLs we talked about in the beginning? Those are important. Those URLs, those are, your MichiganExporter.com, MichiganExporter.de for Germany, whatever, .ca for Canada. So know where they are, know what they are, don't give them away. So a couple of things here on this slide that you might want to think about. Making getting in touch really easy. Short forms. Use WhatsApp if you're going internationally. Works really well. And then one of the things I wanted to say as well, focus. Focus. Don't do a shotgun approach. Like, oh, I'm going to test these 6 markets out at once and see which one. See, it's like spaghetti on the wall, see which sticks. Don't. Focus on the low-hanging fruit. Build on one by one. Exporting is tough. That's why you've got people like Hannah to help you. That's why you've got U.S. Commercial Service. You've got a lot of assets to help you. And you've got companies like us, so, if you're not sure what market, ask Hannah, get in touch. And highlight how about this? Showcase, it says Pennsylvania, I'm terribly sorry. Showcase your international expertise. Made in Michigan, sold worldwide. Okay. So often, remember, your website's not going to be seen by your existing clients. They're going to be seen by new clients. And if you're looking at international, hey, the number of times we talk to non-US companies and say, well, I'd like to buy from this Michigan company, but I don't know if they can actually sell internationally. I go on their website, there's nothing international on their website. It's kind of worrying. So have a look at that. Last thing is, in some easy wins, empower your sales and marketing team. What I say is bring your website, bring your social media marketing into your sales and marketing team. You're going to a trade show? Put it on the website. Put it on your LinkedIn. Make sure it's out there. Make sure people know about it. Got a new product to launch? Sing its praises to the world. Got a hot lead? Send them a link with a client testimonial. Create videos, all those things. Every time you have a sales and marketing meeting, there should be an action item resulting from that on your social media, on your online web presence, on your websites. I just wanted to say those latest trends again, just to remind you, AI and e-commerce are fundamental, absolutely on topic, and are increasingly, e-commerce is increasingly being demanded by buyers. If I come to your website and I can't sort of interact with your website, because I don't want to phone you, I don't want you to phone me, I just want to interact with your website, I'll go away if I can't. Respect your local buyer persona. Again, that whole notion of that buyer persona as the extraordinary one out there. And those localized e-commerce websites on the next slide. There we go. And I remember those 10 criteria that we have for what it means. There's a ton of research you can download, much of it for free, on U.S. Commercial Service page with us. I remember that strategic partnership, which is the research on e-commerce. And here's a screen grab of it. It's trade.gov/e-commerce grow your exports. And there's lots and lots of stuff you can get from that. You can listen also to client testimonials on our website. And in particular, if you go to our website, it says services e-commerce. So our website, by the way, is IBT.ONL. Go to the next slide. IBT ONL, if you go to the e-commerce page, there's lots on the e-commerce side, or else IBT.ONL/resources. There's lots of stuff you can download for free. And with that, any questions? Oh, I have a question. Hannah, if I wanted to do these online global programs, do I contact Hannah?
So I'm a good first resource for everything and in terms of online programs. So I assume you mean maybe to learn more about our webinars, in which case feel free to contact me. I can add you to our distribution list. Also feel free to follow the Global Business Club page on LinkedIn. We post there first about all upcoming programs and events. And then I can also help connect you with any other programs or resources, including IBT Online, US Commercial Service. I can tell you more about our MEGP market research program. So yeah, any questions you have, feel free to reach out to me directly. Mhm.
That's one other question about. That's one other question about platforms. Which one do I recommend, Shopify or WooCommerce? It really depends on you as a company and where you want to be looking at it. I think anyone who's like a developer, they tend to prefer WooCommerce or Shopify. Shopify can be quite rigid, but if you don't have your own in-house tech staff or you're very small and you're not expecting to grow, Shopify is fantastic if you're, like I said, two people, and maybe in 5 years you'll be three people. I mean, but you've got a great little business. Shopify takes all that stuff away, does it all, but it's out of a box, and that box has very clear walls. Put it that way. So it has a great functionality, and I think it has now about 15% world market share. So it's a great platform. WooCommerce has about a 40% market share across the world, but it's and for people who do websites, they usually prefer it because they can do what they want with it. So there you go. It really depends where you are in the cycle. You will be all receiving an email with a copy of this recording in your inbox, I think tomorrow. And like I said, get in touch with Hannah for lots more information, lots more resources. She runs the international trade programs at the International Business Center at the MSU. So she is the person to contact about all those things. And American exporters are lucky to have so many resources. So use them. That's all. Thank you, Hannah, for allowing us to talk today. I hope it was useful. I hope it was interesting and fun for you. And thank you all for joining us today. We appreciate it very much.
And just huge thanks also to Susanna and the rest of the team at IBT Online. This was really, really fascinating, and thank you so much.
Thank you, Hannah. Take care. See you all online or hopefully in person. I'll drop by Lansing next time I'm there. Take
Sounds
care. Thank you all.
good.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye.